Let's rock. If you're new to the tribe, Rad is across the table, Rich is behind the mix. My name is Yanni Ballmeister and we are Unity Gym, experts at turning driven people into athletes. This episode is brought to you by the Unify Movement System, the online program that balances strength, flexibility and fitness in an efficient 60-minute workout so you can unleash your inner athlete. Get daily coaching by us, plus our epic gym and home UMS programs, extensive exercise library, private coaching group, and weekly coaching calls. As a valued listener, use the link in the description to get your first month free. Before we get started, warm welcome if you're watching on the Unity Gym YouTube channel. Remember, hit the like button to support the channel. The more likes we get, the more legends like yourself get to see this content. And subscribe if you like what you see. I'm super excited to announce that joining us today, we have Phil White from ADPT Physio.
Yeah, that's right. And if you didn't know, Phil started work in the fitness industry in 2012, first as a remedial massage therapist, and then went on to study exercise and sports science and a doctor of physiotherapy postgraduate degree. Now he runs ADPT Physio, where they specialize in developing the athlete rehab experience to everyone. Phil's been a massage therapist to the GWS Giants AFL team here in Sydney, Australia, to Olympians, Paralympians, and a number of professional athletes. Good to have you back on the show, bro.
Yep, always good to be here. And I know it's like the massage kind of experience is a bit less relevant to what I'm really excited about with my physio work, but it is relevant for today's topic. So
super excited. Yeah, this question comes in from Aidan Potts from the UMS online coaching group. Aidan asks, I'm told by my massage therapist every time I get a massage that my muscles are super tight, despite having good flexibility. Should I be worried about what the massage therapist is telling me? I'm going to sit back. I think we should. We're going to. I don't want to fire shots, but I'll throw this one straight over to Phil because of his extensive, 7-8 years of being a massage therapist. And we'll try not to.
Yeah, I think Brad, you're the perfect person to talk about this because I think people sort of have this misunderstanding that with great flexibility comes soft pillowy muscles that are never feel tight and never feel sore, and that you've suddenly got this like unbreakable body that's just this soft little squishy nice muscles. And would that fit with your
absolutely
experience
not. I remember the last time that I went to a massage and got a massage from somebody that wasn't you, I was told, Jesus, your this and that is tight. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then did you bust out the middle splits on the table?
That's right. And it was a brutal massage. It was like, oh my God. But I remember coming back to you and asking you the same question, like, should I be worried about this?
But this is the thing. You got to understand, okay? Aidan Potts, I know specifically because he's in our online coaching group. He's training 5 or 6 days a week, which means because every time you have a decent medium to high, like moderate to high intensity bout of resistance training, you get what's referred to as blood gorging for up to 72 hours post exercise.
Or swole.
Swole is the
gorging.
Swole is the colloquial gym term for this. The scientific term is muscle blood gorging, and that means that your muscles is essentially carrying or filled with more blood than they would usually be filled with, and that's what we like to especially as men, we like to walk around with. It's the pump, it's the post training pump, and that's going to make the muscles feel a little bit harder than usual. And you're also dealing with, a whole bunch of different sort of metabolic responses to the exercise that make the muscles feel a little bit harder. But we have to remember, tribe, and we say this a lot on our podcast, we teach this profusely in our UMS online coaching. Flexibility has very little to do with the pliability and actual softness or hardness of the muscle. It's an adaptation in the brain's central nervous system. It's the way the brain's communicating back and forth with the muscle bodies to allow mobility. And you really want to get above and beyond this notion that stretching and flexibility or flexibility training is just simply stretching a muscle, because it's not. We had a great conversation with Aaron McKenzie from Origin of Energy the other day where we really reinforced, he's one of the most flexible people I know, who's not just a yogi who can sit down into positions, but he can apply that in functional movement as well. it's about strength through range. It's about when we asked him what's the number one key to getting flexible, he said strengthen. Strengthen through range. And it's so true, you know, and it's also, I think, the number one rehab therapy as well. What, you know, when you come with an injury or a muscle that's in spasm regularly, what's the most likely thing, if you had one answer for everybody, what's the most likely thing that you could do that's going to have a profoundly positive impact on that sensation of discomfort or pain, is to strengthen that area of your body. Like, if I could only choose one thing to say, that's what it would be. It would be strengthen, you know, build load tolerance.
Yeah. You got to get past this idea that muscle is plasticine. It's not something that you just, by stretching it, it just becomes, you know, stretchier and stretchier. What's happening is that you have, with muscle fibers, a bit of quick muscle anatomy. Basically, with muscle fibers, you have these, a series of sections within the muscle where it's going to be, we're going to like Z disc to Z disc. And then within those Z discs, so basically like, it's almost like in between two brackets, you've then got these overlapping fibers. So if you're on the podcast, you can't see my hand actions here, which is a shame.
But if you're on the YouTube channel, you can.
And basically, you're getting an overlapping of these myosin and actin filaments. And what they do is they have these little crawly feet things that attach to each other. And when they're stimulated, they'll to contract, they'll like crawl along and bring the Z discs together. And when they relax, the Z discs will come apart. And so basically, when you're in sort of mid-range of the muscles, you'll have like a nice amount of overlap, and you've got a bit of room to go each way. But then as you contract, as the Z disc gets closer together, you'll get lots more overlap of those myosin and actin filaments. And that's what we call training inner range strength. And that's often where you get lots of cramps, because those little feet are kind of hanging on too tight and they're not really good at knowing when to let go. So that's often you'll get those, when you're doing your inner range strength training, you'll get lots of cramps there. So training that range will make you more resilient to it, because it teaches your brain to like, oh no, we don't have to like go into crazy spasm here. And then as you stretch out, you'll be weaker in end range, because you don't have as much overlap. So you don't have as much contractile potential, because you have like less of those little clawy feety things pulling them together. And so that's where flexibility training comes in. Is basically what we're doing is we're pulling those myosin actin filaments apart. Oh, take over for a second.
Get it out.
Oh, Phil, he's swallowed down the wrong pipe. The air pipe is not for swallowing, but
we're essentially like not just elongating and separating those. We're building more thickness in there.
Yeah. Well, basically what we're doing is like, as you're stretching, your body is always going to be very protective of the rest of the whole body system. So when you're stretching out those muscles and you're taking your joint through range, if your body feels like it can't, if your brain, thinks you can't control your body, it will contract and be protective. And that contraction is what then stops you from being able to access the range. So, and that will be like
to that as a brain's inhibition.
And that will be the muscle. That will be the muscle itself, and it will also be the muscles around the joint that you're trying to stretch. Everything will co-contract and be like, nope, don't like it. And so that's why with the Unity program, you'll be doing lots of kind of activation at end, like strength at end range, co-contracting other muscles, like actively trying to turn them on and off. So that's a basic understanding of what flexibility is. And so it's just, you can see how it's very different to this idea that it's you're like, when you're flexibility training, you're not building muscle hypertrophy in series, you're not making the muscle longer, you're just allowing it to be able to contract. And so they've done some really great studies of this with people who have contractures from like different genetic conditions, where they actually get put in a cast, which is serial casting is what it's called, where they basically over time, if you've got like a foot when you're born that's really like curled over and totally contracted, they'll put you in a cast that will be basically on a constant stretch for like weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And they've shown that you don't get longer muscles, you're just teaching your body to be used to being not so contractile. So when looking at someone like Aiden, who's a pretty flexible dude and he's also pretty strong, so you can see there that like it's not that he's like, massage therapists fall into the trap of thinking that they've got some hard muscle that doesn't want to relax and contract, but that's just not the case. As Yanni said, it's like when you've got that sort of tightness feeling, it's that when you hypertrophy your muscles, basically your muscles are encased in fascia, and so fascia is just like a thin sort of connective tissue sheath. If you ever pulled a steak apart, you can see that like kind of translucent stuff that kind of holds fibers together. It's sort of like it's cased in something there. And so if you imagine if you had a bag of pasta, then you think like the muscle fibers are like the pasta inside the bag, and the bag is the fascia. And so as Yanni said, as you get more blood flow and as you become stronger and have become really dedicated to training like Aiden, those muscles are going to start to hypertrophy. So each of those pasta has turned from like angel hair spaghetti into like that really
spaghetti bolognese.
That kind of like the spaghetti with a big hole in it, and it's like quite chunky and fat. And so basically you can imagine if the fascia is because that's a slower adapting connective tissue, you're basically going to start to push out against that, and that gives you like the feeling of tightness. And this can go really badly for things like if people get really bad corks in sports. So basically if you get like kneed in the thigh, that rapid increase in blood flow from bruising and the inflammatory process, that can cause what's called compartment syndrome, where you basically have so much blood in there that it starts to make it so high pressure in there that you start to you could potentially have neural and so basically nerve and blood vessel damage, because it's basically just like occluding the nerves and occluding the blood vessels. So you've ever seen there's some horrible photos of surgeries that people have to get where they get a fasciotomy, which is basically cutting the fascia to allow there to be like a decrease in pressure in there to save nerves. So it's just a good example of like I think it's sort of helpful to take things to the extreme and then come back to regular he's got muscles that are strong, they've got a good pump, they've got good tone, so muscular tone coming like from neural drive from the brain that's going to keep him active and ready. But yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah, I actually experienced compartment syndrome in my perennial on
so
the
right the reason why we're laughing is there's two different, like, anatomy is such a tricky thing to learn, but basically you've got your perineals, like, which in America makes it easier because it's called your fibularis muscle. So basically it's and that's on your fibula, so it makes a lot of sense. And that's on the outside of your calf. It's the one that is involved in ankle. Yeah, you call it your fibularis, eh?
Yeah. But then you've also got
your gooch muscle, which is your perineum.
Perennial. And Yanni always refers to his gooch.
Anyway,
compartment syndrome in his gooch.
Anyway, I think we've given a pretty good answer to that question, haven't we, guys? I think.
Yeah, well, I think just like, I don't know.
Let's summarize, okay? Let's go around the table and summarize because we've got a little bit more time.
Can I just quickly rant about massage therapists?
Yes.
So as a previous massage therapist, it was very much ingrained in us that you shouldn't be making comments on like people's health and function, and a lot of people they do it out of a like they want to be helpful. They want to be like oh yeah, I feel like I could really help you here by changing structure, but it's just not what it's inappropriate for massage to do it. And because we've talked a lot about with contemporary pain science how it's these like little like mind viruses of words that people have used before, where you're tight, you must be like really restricted, and all those things just then make people sort of like, oh, there's something wrong with me, oh, I can't do this, I should be careful, and that can be kind of used to then change the like self-efficacy. So self-efficacy is like your confidence in that you can make a positive change for yourself, and it kind of takes that away and it puts it into an external locus of control, which is basically like, oh, I need this health practitioner, otherwise I can't I couldn't possibly run, otherwise my muscles will snap, and I need to see this massage therapist, I need to see this physio. So it's kind of this, that's why I get like really I'm
glad that you went there, because that's where I wanted to go, which is the psychological. And I talk about this a lot in our goal setting series that we usually do at the start of every year, which we will do again in January 2022, which is about the psychology behind achieving results in anything in life, whether it be exercise, body transformation, fat loss, career, finance, relationships, whatever. You have you have stories and dogmas and beliefs that really dictate how you speak, how you behave, how you act, how you think, and all of that plays a major role in your ability to achieve your goals, especially around your physical body. If you're constantly told that you're tight, if you reinforce that notion because it feels tight when I go and get a massage, so now you've not just heard it from someone who you perceive to be an expert in that field, now you've attached a physical feeling to that. It's strengthening this notion that you are tight and frail and fragile. And guess what? Guess what's going to happen when you constantly tell yourself that? You're probably going to feel tight, fragile, and frail, And
you're probably going to spend heaps of time doing like, oh, I've got to stretch. And then that's going to which, if your goal is flexibility and you want to be stretching, sure. and you want to be doing flexibility training, so end-to-end strength and everything, that's fine. But I just get so often as a physio, people are like, oh, I've injured myself because I haven't stretched enough. It's like, no, look at your bigger picture stuff. You've just gone from sitting on the couch and now you're trying to run for 5 days a week.
my final thoughts on this is that I absolutely love massage. It's a really nice, relaxing thing to do, and it is, for me, it's a part of management of my body, but it is a very, very small part, and it is the icing on the cake. And I've gone from being somebody that really relied on regular massage or chiropractic treatment, like basically something like putting my faith in that the solution to the pain and discomfort that I was feeling that would ramp up until I got that treatment was getting these treatments. And I've gone from that to being somebody that fully embraces that it's all in my hands and it's what I do. And if I choose to go and get a massage or something like that, it's beneficial and it has its place for me personally, but it is really just the icing on the cake. And I think until people come to that conclusion for themselves, and this idea that, like what you're saying, like if you think I just want to get flexible, you can't run towards something without running away from something else. So it shouldn't really be that I've got to get flexible. It should be more like, I need a better balance. I need to maybe develop some flexibility along with my strength and fitness as well, rather than all my problems are because I'm not flexible.
Yeah. I'm working in another clinic outside of Sydney at the moment because I'm spending half my time down in the south coast of New South Wales, and I'm working with this guy, and he runs a really big practice, and he basically describes massages. He's like, seeing a massage therapist is like getting hot chips. You do it because you like it, but don't think it's because it's going to be anything that's going to, change your life fundamentally. But I kind of disagree with him a little bit, because I think there is a really positive reason to get it for that relaxation side of thing, for that being able to switch off, for that feeling looked after, and I think there's a lot of power in being touched as well. And I've really noticed that since going from being 8 years of a massage therapist, where people leave just being like, oh, thank you so much. I just feel so much better than I've felt in a long time, to now with the physio where I'm telling them, hey, you probably got to do some more exercise and you got to think about all that stuff. So it's a real difference for me. And often I feel a bit like, oh, it'd be nice just to have people compliment me all the time again, instead of being like, oh, you have to do what? But I think especially in today's world of where any spare moment you're looking at your phone, any spare moment you're stressing about all this other shit you have to do, having a massage I think is a wonderful way of just having some of that downtime. We've talked a lot about how recovery is really key, and I think that mental, being able to switch off, being able to feel looked after, being able to properly relax without being distracted by an overstimulating world. And now, especially after people have been locked down for a long time, just human touch, I think is just, there's something that's so I'm not going to say healing, but in a kind of woo-woo sense, but just in it helps you relax and feel connected to the world again. And I think that is something really powerful about that. So I'm slightly not quite the same as massages hot chips, but do it because you like it and you want to feel the how great you can feel afterwards, but don't do it because you're trying to increase your mobility.
Sounds good to me.
Absolutely. Now, anybody that wants to connect with Phil after listening to this awesome podcast, Phil can be found on Instagram at ADPT Physio, and you can book in for an in-person or an online session with Phil
or a massage maybe.
We do have a great massage therapist now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they've got a massage therapist working for them, which you can book either with Mitch or Phil at adpt.physio. Thanks for coming on the show, Phil. Always great to have you on here, mate.
Love it.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you for our next episode of the Sound of Movement podcast.